Om Sadashiva Samarambam
Sadashiva Samarambam
Shankaracharya Madhyamam
Shankaracharya Madhyamam
Asmadacharya Paryantam
Asmadacharya Paryantam
Vande Guru Paramparam.
Vande Guru Paramparam.
Om Sahana Bhavatu
Om Sahananavatu
Sahanau Bhunaktu
Sahanau Bhunaktu
Sahaviryam Karavavahai
Sahaviryam Vavahai
Tejasvinavaditamastu
Tejasvinamaditamstu
Avidvishavahai
Mavedshavahi
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Shri Gurubhyo
Gurubhyo
Namaha.
Namaha.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. So I will mute you all again. I would invite all of you to close your eyes just for a moment. Focus on your breath. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, let go of all your plans for the weekend. Inhale, filling your lungs with wonderful prana. And exhale, letting go of all the thoughts of whatever happened this week. Try to come back to yourself. Keep your attention on the awareness. Om. When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Wonderful to have you all join us in this study. That was a little peacock behind me. Yes, so maybe I should use these so you don't hear the peacocks. I have a lot of your introductions already through the registration forms you filled. And yeah, some of you also messaged me. Thank you for that. I'll give you a brief introduction of myself. I'm Spandana. and I've been part of Vedanta Amritam for several years. Vedanta Amritam was set up by disciples of Swami Paramarthananda, and I belong to this lineage of Guru Sishya, teachers and students, and this is where that teaching comes from. None of this is my own teaching. This is a timeless teaching which has been passed through the lineage, and that's how it's always transmitted. So our lineage close up all the way to Adi Shankaracharya, who was known to be the revitalizer of this Advaita Vedanta in somewhere around the 8th to 12th century BC. And now this is the same lineage which Swami Dayananda belongs to, Swami Shivananda, Swami Chinmayananda, several great teachers were part of this lineage. And my direct teacher has been Ravi Ishwaranji. And a lot of us teachers here at Vedanta Amritam now have studied directly from Raviji. And yeah, we teach because he asked us to. And some of us also studied from various other teachers from the same lineage. So myself, to give a brief introduction, I'm an engineer and MBA by qualification. I worked in corporate life in marketing for several years, heading teams in marketing and such. And about 3 years ago, I stepped away from corporate life to focus more on this teaching, and with the intention that when I go back to work, I want it to be something meaningful. So right now I'm also adding a few other skills to support people. That's what I'm doing. So that's enough about me. I would love to get to know you during the course of our study. We mostly will do group classes, and how it works is I will give pause for questions in between the class, and we will also have a longer Q&A session after 9 p.m. for those who want to stay back and engage in more Q&A. So if anyone has a question before I give time, you can also use the option to raise your hand in the bottom, so I know that someone has a question. But generally, I give pauses well enough. And this teaching is put together in such a way that it generates inquiry. And you will find that most often the text answers the question it generates in the very next verse itself. So a little patience also is usually quite well rewarded. And right now, before actually diving into the text itself, we will do a few classes of introduction to Advaita Vedanta. So this lineage we belong to is Advaita Vedanta. And what is that exactly? This Advaita means Dvaitam is duality, and Advaitam means non-duality. Many of you would be familiar with what that means. Many of you may not be, and we will of course dive well into what that means. But just to give you an understanding, non-duality means this. Right now, many of you might think there is me, there is a creator, and there is the world. And I am different from this creator, and I am different from this world. And Advaita says that, no, it's all the same consciousness. That's the root philosophy, if you want to call it that Advaita is. And Vedanta means, Vedas is this vast knowledge, the original teachings. We will again get a bit deeper into where exactly it comes from. This vast knowledge which has been there in India mostly from forever. And it includes everything. It includes the knowledge of language, grammar, music, Ayurveda, all these, how to live a good life, how to achieve the various goals in your life. It basically has knowledge of everything. And Anta, Vedanta, and the Anta means the end. So among this vast knowledge, when you come to the end of the teaching, both in terms of it being the highest teaching and also where it is found in the Vedas itself, that is Vedanta. That's what we will be diving into now, Advaita Vedanta. And we will be looking at the text Tattva Bodha. And what is that? Tattvam refers to reality of yourself, or reality of everything. And Bodham means knowledge. So the text itself is basically can be translated to reality of knowledge. That's what we will be diving into later a few classes in, and we will talk about other things which are introduction first. So what is this reality? It can also be translated as true nature. We are going to talk about true nature of what? We're going to talk about the true nature of myself, of yourself. Really, it should be the most fascinating topic for everyone here, because who doesn't like to hear about themselves or to talk about themselves? Even if you don't so far, you will hopefully during the course of this study realize how utterly fascinating and how utterly wondrous you are. So this should be a very interesting class for all of you, I hope. We can also say this class is about, this Tattva Bodha is about self-knowledge. And why should one pursue self-knowledge? We are all intelligent human beings here, and no one pursues anything, no intelligent person pursues anything unless there is a benefit. So there are several benefits to everything that we pursue. What are the things we generally pursue in life? Can you tell me? What are the things you spend your time and energy on? I would invite some answers here at this point. What would you say your goals in life are? You can unmute yourself.
Lead a comfortable life.
Comfortable life, good.
Happiness.
Happiness, great.
Life.
Pardon me?
Healthy life.
Healthy life, right?
Build a family.
Build a family.
To be calm as much as possible.
That's a good one.
Want to
To
live
grow.
life.
Well,
Truly
thank you.
connected.
So we want to build families, build homes, build careers. We have so many goals, don't we? We say the scriptures tell us that all these goals that we have can be divided into 4 categories. So you might have heard this before. It's called Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. I will explain. All these various goals we have can be divided in these 4. The first one, Artha, means, first of all, before we get into the 4, these 4 goals we call Purushartas. Okay, so we will be using a bit of Sanskrit terminology as we go along. You're not required to remember all of it. Whenever something is important, I will let you know. But the reason we do this is there is a lot of terminology in Sanskrit. There is a lot of terminology in the scriptures where there is no real way to translate it into English in a particular word. And also the one word it can be translated into English is very limiting by the language itself, and also limiting because of all the connotations you might have to that word. So when we are talking about non-duality and this absolute consciousness that we'll be talking a lot about, when I say consciousness, you would all have certain perceptions of what that is. If you've not been exposed to Advaita Vedanta, it won't be the same perception as what Advaita Vedanta will tell you it is. So, which is why we slowly introduce these terms one by one, and whatever is important, I will kind of send you a snapshot at the end of the class saying these are the words which would be good to add to your vocabulary slowly, right? So these 4 goals now we say are Purushartas. Purusha means human, and Artha in the sense goals. So these are the goals that human beings have, human beings in particular have. We have a lot of things common to all the other living beings, to all the other animals in the world. We all have the same instinct of survival. We all have the same instinct to feed ourselves. We have the same hunger which drives us. We have the same instincts to sleep, give this body some rest, to procreate. So there are a lot of things, a lot of our behavior is done instinctively. However, human beings have something which rest of the animal kingdom doesn't, and that is free will. And Purusharta can also has a secondary meaning of free will, of choice. And this, Shastra says, scriptures say, is something that only humans have. And rest of the animal kingdom, how beautiful and they are and how much we love them, they all don't have this free will, which is why human birth is a very precious birth. And in this human birth, because of this free will, because of this choice, because of this advanced intellect, we also have a desire for many things. We also have several goals in life. And these goals, coming back to where I was, can be divided into 4. The first being Artha, which means everything that we do for procuring security and to remove a sense of insecurity. So this could be food, clothing, a house, if that's what gives you security. A lot of people might be perfectly happy without a house. Wearing masks to protect yourself against pollution or COVID. Maybe even children for some, because you think that children will be your security in old age. We possess many things to have a sense of security. And we also like to possess people for security. And then the funny thing is, we get then worried about the security of these things and people we possess. So you might have a house to feel secure, and you might live in an area with a lot of crime. So you get a security for that house to guard your house. You might get a little break-in system, breaking alarm system or something, or you might get a security guard to guard your house. The security guard might need to go on leave sometimes, so you might have a backup security for that security, right? So it's a funny cycle we do. But everything we do basically for security comes under artha. And once artha is taken care of, we then come to the kama purusharta. Kama means all our wants and the extra comforts, which are not really needed for security, but something you want to enjoy. And what is artha for someone and what is kama, what is a need or want, is very specific to you. So whether one of your goals falls in artha or kama depends largely on you. There is, of course, the big commonalities. None of us can really feel secure if we don't have food to eat or a little money to get around in this world and things like that. But how much money do I really need to feel secure? That is very individual, right? So whether you're pursuing a big career, whether you're doing it for your artha, for this sense of security, or you're doing it for kama because you want fame, you want the title which comes with it, you want the meaning which comes with it, that would be individual to you, right? And then someone is asking, can you explain dharma? We're coming to dharma now. That's the third purushartha. When artha and kama is kind of taken care of, people come to dharma. And dharma is kind of an invisible form of wealth. It's not something you see, but something which seems to contribute to your well-being. When you do something nice for someone, when you help out a needy person, it seems to contribute to your well-being. It seems to make you feel better, right? So it's a kind of an invisible form of wealth. Of course, many of us have this as a goal also in life because of the deep conditioning we have about if I do good, good things will happen to me. Many of you might come from cultures or religion which believes in a heaven or hell, right? So if I lead a good life, I will go to heaven, otherwise I will go to hell. Or many of you, especially from the Indian culture, might believe in reincarnation, that if I lead a good life, I will have a better next life. So these are all things that all the goals that we pursue because of either this very explicit or implicit understanding of if I do good, good will happen for me. So it's still something you seem to largely be doing for force because you believe there is something beyond this life, right? Or you believe that there is something beyond this moment. Whatever I do now will come back to me in some way. So all these goals that we pursue because of this is called dharma, right? So together, all these are called prayers. What is pleasing? And when we look at the reason we pursue any of these things, what is it? Why do we try to build houses? Why do we try to build careers? Why do we try to build relationships? When you explore into the reason for why we do something, it will come back to happiness. You're trying to be happy. Would you agree? And
Yes.
when and if I ask you, how much happiness do you want? Do you want a little happiness or do you want a lot of happiness? I assume you want a lot. Do you want to be happy right now, today, or would you like to be happy tomorrow? Yes, I would assume you want to be happy all the time, right? And would you like to be happy in this room you're sitting in right now? Or would you like to be happy in the room outside? We all want happiness all the time, everywhere, and we want unlimited happiness. Would that be more or less accurate? Or do you just want, are you one of those people who just want a little happiness?
Unlimited happiness.
Right. So the basic reason we pursue most things in life can come back to wanting happiness. However, these first three goals, the first Artha, Kama, Dharma, have certain defects in being able to address our deeper desire for this kind of unlimited, infinite happiness across time and space. And these limitations are, Shastra tells us, these limitations can be put into three categories. First one is Dukkha Mishri Tattvam. I will post these later, but in simple, this first defect means Dukkha is pain. Mishri Tattvam means basically we're talking about pleasure mixed with pain. So any happiness that you can get from pursuing these first three Purushartas, your Artha, Kama, Dharma, are usually, the happiness you can derive from it is usually mixed with a little pain, right? So if you want a car to get around, that's one of your goals, there is a certain pain in acquiring that car, right? First of all, you would have need to work a little possibly to get enough money to buy this car. And even if you have the money, you would have put in some effort to go around researching which is the best car for me. What is the mileage it gives? What is the performance it gives? I'm not a car person, so I don't know what you would all look at. For me, it was just the basic, simple car. But you would go around researching a lot. You'll take it out for test drives and all these things. So there is a certain amount of effort. We can call it little pain in acquiring this car. And once you have this car you want, there would be some pain, some effort in maintaining this car. You have to take it for regular servicing. You have to put in petrol ever so often, keep it clean. So there is effort in and little pain in maintenance of the car. If someone comes and scratches that car in traffic, there is some pain. And you'd want to then go take care of the scratches, or you would get insurance to protect this car. So there is some pain in the maintenance of this thing that you wanted. And finally, there is pain of loss. At some point, this car will get old, it will start breaking down. It won't function the same way it used to at some point, or it's become too old and it no longer serves the purpose of this prestige or status you had because of that car, right? So at some point, you will lose this car, maybe in a year or maybe 10 years or 20 years, but the car will cease to exist. So there is a pain of loss. And the same thing happens with anything else that you acquire, right? Even relationships. You might have, you might get a partner, you might have that relationship for 6 months, a year, 40 years, 50 years, but eventually you will lose that too when one of you dies. So there is always some pain mixed with the pleasure which can be derived from all these things. That's the first limitation. The second limitation or defect, we call them dosha, is atripti karatvam, which means dissatisfaction. Think of your life so far, all the things you did to get where you are. When you were in school, you were told, this would be especially true from people from India and so on. When you were in school, you were told and believed that you work really hard in school and get into a good university, then you will be set for life. So you work really hard in school to get that, or maybe you didn't work hard enough when you felt the pressure. So you get to university and you're told, work hard through this university, learn well, and then you'll be fine, right? So you work hard through university for those grades and to land that high-paying job, right? And then you're told, yeah, once you land that job, you'll be set. But once you get to the job, you realize, oh, okay, now I need to work hard to get that next promotion, next role, next pay level, and then I'll be happy. You work hard for those next things. Same with families. You think, if I get a partner, I get married, I'll be happy. So you get married, and then you think, maybe I will feel more fulfilled if I have kids. So you might have kids. Then you think, I will be happy once my kids are settled. So you then work hard for settling your kids. And then your kids don't turn out how you really wanted them to turn out. And you worry about that, right? So there is always some dissatisfaction which can creep in with any of these things that we pursue. And the last defect or dosha is bandhakatvam, which is dependence. The more things one acquires, the more you become dependent on them. They all become crutches, because especially if you come from thinking that this is a thing which is giving me security or happiness or even entertainment, you become dependent on that particular thing for these things. So they bind you. So the third defect is the dependency. These objects cross you. So all these goals that we pursue are riddled with these three defects, these three limitations, which is contrary to what we wanted. We wanted unlimited happiness, right? So I'm going around pursuing things for my happiness, but they're not giving me unlimited happiness. They only seem to be bringing me limited happiness. That brings us to the fourth Purusharta, the fourth goal in life, which scriptures tells us is free from these defects, which is moksha. Very simply put, moksha is unlimited happiness, free from these defects that we just discussed. The first three, artha, kama, dharma, come under the category of prayers, what is pleasing. And moksha alone comes under the category of prayers, what is good for you, what is ultimately good for you. And it's fine. Shastra tells you that whatever goals you have, those goals are perfectly fine. People will have the goals that they have. So that's why Vedas give you how to pursue all these goals. If you look at the first part of Vedas, they will talk about how to have a good, healthy body, how to act dharmically, so that in this world, how to, even if you want wealth, what do you do to get wealth? It will even prescribe you rituals you can do to get more wealth. It will give you gods, devatas you can pray to for more of this wealth, or it will even give you rituals if you want a kid, what kind of rituals you can do, and so on. So Vedas will cover all these things, because it says whatever goals you have is perfectly fine, and you pursue those goals, and the Vedas will help you with that. But at some point, what happens is most of us become aware of the defects of these various goals that we are pursuing, and we start becoming interested in something more. We start realizing, so a lot of people come to this point because of a little suffering, because life has made them suffer, and or in the very least, life has made them see that all the things that they're pursuing right now might not give you what you're really looking for. Or it might be that you didn't have much suffering at all, but you still have some sense of there is more, there is something more that I'm here to do. This can't be all. This, what I'm doing so far seems to have some limitations. I want to know what is the purpose of this life. I want to know who I am. When you start getting this kind of inquiry, you're coming to basically the inquiry of moksha, this unlimited happiness. Various cultures call it different things. Some cultures would call it nirvana or mukti, liberation, awakening. There is several words in different languages for this. But what exactly is moksha? It's actually very simple. It's not about achieving some kind of flying yogic abilities, or it's not about being able to sit in samadhi for years together in a cave. It's not about having visions of of Shiva or Ganesha or something. These are all things these are all indicators of a certain point in your spiritual journey and very useful, but that's not the moksha, that's not the liberation that we're talking about. It's basically having a few benefits, which we will talk about now. Before that, does anyone have any questions in what we discussed so far?
I do.
Before? Yes, please go on, Neha.
So I just wanted to, So I just wanted to know the Sanskrit terms for the effect that is going to, that Artha, Kama and Dharma gets. I could not get that.
It's called prayas. It's not the effect, they all put under the category of prayas, means what is pleasing to one.
Okay. And you also were saying about dukkha something. I did not get that.
I will put all these terms
Okay.
in the group later so that
Okay.
you have the Sanskrit terms. But
All right.
just follow up with what the concept is so far.
Yes,
Someone
concept I
can go.
understood.
Perfect. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Any questions about what is Artha, Kama, Dharma, or these three defects that I spoke about so far?
It's prayers versus.
Shreyas.
Sorry.
Shreyas. Shreyas means what is good for you.
Shreyas.
Yes, the terms I'll put, like I said. So don't worry about that right now. Okay. We will also have a longer Q&A at the end. So what are the benefits that we are looking for, right? And what are the benefits of pursuing this study? You all would have several reasons for why you might have come to a Vedanta class, or maybe someone just recommended it to you, so you came. But when you've come to this spiritual inquiry, there is something you're hoping to get out of it. So once again, I will invite you to close your eyes for just a moment and think about what is it that brought you to this spiritual inquiry, and what are the questions that you have that you would like an answer to. My guess is all of you have a lot of questions, and you had a lot of these questions since childhood. And as kids, we used to ask so many questions. Right? And at some point that inquiry might have stopped because either we got busy with life or we didn't really find the answers that we were looking for, that we had. All of you might have questions about who am I? What is this world I see? Who is God? What is the purpose of my life? Why am I here? Why must I suffer? Why do some people seem to have it very easy and some people to have it very tough? Why do I have so many desires? How do I get the things that I want? How can I be happy? How can I be peaceful? As humans, because of our advanced intellect and this natural curiosity to know about things around us, we have this curiosity we call jignasa, right? So when, even if you got added to this Tattva Bodha group, it's not just the big things we're curious about. We're curious about the small things too. You would have checked to kind of see how many people are there in this group, who logged into class today. Do I know any of these people, right? We have insatiable curiosity. This is the curiosity which has made human beings explore across lands, across oceans, even in space. An insatiable thirst. Many of us would say we love to travel to explore new cultures, even if we're not getting on ships and trying to find unknown lands anymore. We're all these modern day explorers at heart. Even if you're staying perfectly still at home, if someone were to look at our Google search histories, you would likely find some very quirky questions there. Right? So we have infinite number of questions. You might have wondered, do I have free will? What are these factors beyond my control, which seem to bring me so much misery sometimes, and other times I seem to get lucky. And whenever there is this advanced, developed intellect like humans have, there is a curiosity to know. And this curiosity to know is usually divided into three basic categories: about myself, about the world that I interact with or I see, and about, let's say, God, this unforeseen force which I assume created everything or is responsible for everything. So in Sanskrit, this is called Jiva, myself, Jagat, the world, and Ishvara, the God. So we all have this curiosity, this jignasa about these three things: about myself, about the world, and who God is. And jignasa is the curiosity to know more and more about that, to know about the ultimate truth beyond this apparent triangle. And this truth behind this apparent triangle is what we call Tattva, or Brahman, or Atman. We will explore all these terms in details, don't worry. But the first benefit of why one would undertake spiritual inquiry, would undertake this study, is jignasa nivritti, a cessation of this curiosity to know more and more, this curiosity which is making us restless. The second benefit of why you would undertake this study is called Vidyananda Prapti. Vidya is knowledge and Ananda is happiness. So getting happiness from this knowledge. So this second benefit is basically the happiness you get from self-knowledge, right? So any joy. There is so much joy born out of not any kind of knowledge. When there is that story of Archimedes, when he discovered buoyancy while he was in a bathtub, he was so euphoric that he jumped out naked and screaming, "Eureka, Eureka!" Right? So there is joy in a lot of things, and the joy born of knowledge is a kind of a finer joy. But what we are talking about here is even more refined, because whenever we learn something new, a new language, something exciting about a new culture, something about how something works, or a new recipe, there is joy in having that knowledge. But all these things that we can know about usually are about objects, about something external to you. But this particular knowledge is about yourself. It's about the subject. It's about the inquirer themselves. So the joy which can be born out of that is at a higher plane altogether. The joy born out of everything else, external object, is called Vishayananda. And it is subject to the three doshas, the three defects that we talked about. Because any joy born out of these external objects, or knowledge of external objects, has limitations of time and space. But a joy born out of self-knowledge is beyond that. This knowledge about myself is the most intimate thing. It is not dependent on any external factors. And when scriptures give me this knowledge, they tell me that I'm not this ordinary or defective person I might have thought myself to be. In fact, I'm the most wonderful thing in creation. It's certainly nice to believe, even if it's not true. And hopefully through the course of Vedanta study, you will all realize one day that it is true, that you are the most wondrous thing there is. That's the second benefit. The third benefit of why one would undertake this study is karpanna nivritti, which means freedom from desperation. So when the Vishayananda, this joy from external objects, we said, is riddled with various defects. It's dependent on so many things. Say something as simple as you went to a restaurant and you ordered your favorite dish at the restaurant. And for you to get the joy you're expecting from this dish you ordered, hopefully is the same chef who prepared it the last time which made you like this dish. He's the one still there in the kitchen. The chef must have prepared it as per your taste, right? Not too much salt or something like that. When the dish is ready, hopefully the waiter did not leave it lying on the counter too long, so it became all cold by the time it reached you. Or your own faculties, your own tasting and smelling faculties must be functioning well. Hopefully you don't have a little congestion or something which is stopping you from tasting or smelling well that day. So your joy from being able to enjoy this dish that you wanted is dependent on so many things. It's all experiential, time-bound joy. Even when you get the dish and it's absolutely perfect, exactly the way you want it, and you start eating it, your joy lasts till the point you're eating it. And yeah, maybe after a little after, you still feel very satisfied and happy, but soon after, whatever joy was born out of eating that dish is gone. I can give you 2 of those dishes. It's not going to increase your joy any further. 3 will probably start making you sick, right? So it is experiential and time-bound. It has a beginning and an end. Your food ananda will only last as long as you're eating, and it is often unpredictable, dependent on many things. And whenever there is unpredictability, there is some stress and anxiety. But Vidyananda, this self-knowledge, will serve as a standby, something to fall back upon. Any intelligent person does not rely on unpredictable things. If you live in an area subject to, say, power cuts, more probably likely if you're in India or in the Eastern world, you would go get yourself an inverter, a power backup, a standby, so that when there is a power cut in peak summer, you have a standby to rely on. And this Vidyananda is your standby. It's your, because you have this knowledge, because you can have this joy from self-knowledge itself, which is something dependent on only yourself. There is less of a dependence on external things, less of a dependence on unpredictable things, which can cause desperation. So we can have a freedom from this desperation, freedom from worldly fleeting objects. Swami Paramarthananda of our tradition calls it UPS. The UPS is usually uninterrupted power supply, which is used for a power backup. But this UPS is this Vidyananda is your uninterrupted pleasure supply that you can always have. Then so we looked at 3 benefits so far. I will post the review notes. The 4th benefit is freedom from shock or trauma. It's called agata nivritti. So we all know that life is a mix of painful and pleasurable experiences. Things often do not go as per plan. There are things beyond our control which affect us all the time. These are called choiceless situations that we have to live with and we cannot escape, right? So if you're living in an area where it's raining continuously, it's going to rain, it's a coastal area, going to rain 10 hours a day, there's no point complaining about the incessant rain. You do what you can. You get yourself an umbrella or a raincoat and you deal with the rain, right? So that's a small example, but there are bigger choiceless situations we're all faced with at some point. Maybe some bad luck in the markets, which makes you lose a lot of fortune. Your company shuts down suddenly, right? Someone you love falls sick. And the biggest one that we all must face sometime is death. We all have or will lose loved ones at some point. And we all have to face our own mortality, this body getting old, decaying, and dying at some point. So that's the biggest kind of predictable, unpredictable factor which exists, right? So you don't know when these things will happen. The scriptures point out that even though we cannot change the situation, the impact that it has on you, how it affects you physiologically, that impact can be modified. And we all see it in one family itself when a tragedy strikes, when there is a death of a loved one, it seems to impact different people differently. 2 people might love that person the same amount, but one might take years to get over that death and move on with life and do the things they must. And others will grieve and move on much sooner, right? So why is it that the same thing can affect different people differently? It's our capacity to be able to absorb these shocks. Even it's our capacity to handle the same objective situation. And to look at say, a father and a child. If the young child loses a toy they're very attached to, the child will cry, and the father will console, saying, there, it's okay, I will buy you a new one. Or, we can try to fix it. But because the child is so attached to that toy, they might be inconsolable. Right? For the father, well, he might feel for the child, for the pain of his child. He's quite free at that point. He's mukta at that point, who's not really affected by this as much as the child, right? But say the next day, the father drops his iPhone, who's the one who will be crying then? It's probably not the child. The child can come and say, it's okay, daddy, we can get you a new one. So how we feel, or the suffering we feel about the same situation, will depend on a lot of things, our attachment to it and how we perceive it and so on. So the impact, the trauma can be reduced through this self-knowledge. This self-knowledge has a capacity to act as a powerful shock absorber. So the scriptures tell us that many times you cannot change the world, you cannot change the people around you, you cannot change certain relationships, but you can change your attitude towards them. You can reduce or even eliminate the impact. The immunity of the mind to absorb the shocks is agatha nivritti, which is the fourth benefit. There is one more I would love to talk about, but I see we're at 9 o'clock, so I will take that up in the next session. And then we will continue. So these are all the benefits of why one might want to undertake this study. And if you really want to know how to get these benefits, you will have to come to the rest of the classes. But at this point, I can take questions. Start with any questions you might have, the teaching itself and
Excuse me, Spandanaji.
yes, Costa, please go ahead.
Where did you say you would be posting the notes and the Sanskrit terms? Is that into the WhatsApp group?
Yes, I will give the links for everything in the WhatsApp group. I've already put, I haven't posted it yet, so every class I will post what is relevant to this class and I will update it in the group and folder.
Okay, thank you.
And we will be providing recordings of all the sessions for those of you who can't attend live class. And also, it's ideal that in the class itself, you just listen and try to absorb and you listen to the recording again, making notes right at that point. I see some questions posted. Anku, is your question about Dharma here now, or you have some question about it?
Yeah, ma'am. I was asking about Dharma. As you said that Artha come before
Dharma?
Dharma. I wanted to understand how, because Dharma apparently is like, as far I understand, it is your basic instinct to do the righteous things.
So
Or how?
one important thing to know is Sanskrit is a very contextual language.
Mhm.
So we can use the same word for many things, so Dharma can also mean doing the righteous thing, meaning doing your duty, right? It can mean, so that's not the context we're using Dharma in right now. The context we're using Dharma in is as a goal in life. but the other context dharma is used, we can just say the dharma of life, right? So what is dharma? What is your dharma? Is what is your duty in life? What is dharma of a banyan tree? It is to provide shade. What is dharma of fire? It is to provide heat. So the very intrinsic nature of things can also be called dharma, but that's in a different context.
Okay, thank you.
And you also wanted me to name the defects. I'll post it in my notes. Was the pace too fast? Would you like me to slow down more, pause more for questions? Feel free to give me feedback about all that.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, Costa.
I found the pace good for me personally. My question was more about the benefits of taking this study. The first and the third one, I'm not sure if I just misunderstood, but felt quite similar. Like to cease this restless curiosity, but also to free from the desperation. Is it?
It's
that
two
the
different.
desperation?
I mean, they're related, of course, but it's different. The first one was about satisfying your curiosity, satisfying all these questions that you have. What are some of the questions that you might have, for example?
Yeah, I was always curious about like, who am I having this experience? And then what is it that I need to be doing here to express myself fully in this life?
Beautiful. So the first benefit we're talking about is about giving you answers to those questions, because those are questions you've lived with for so long and not really found satisfying answers to, presumably. So the first benefit is about giving you answers to that, so you can have a satisfaction of knowing an answer to those questions. And the third benefit is about your dependency on external things, right? So say some of the things you might have, if you have a favorite car or a favorite phone or something, and you are a relationship which is very dear to you, which is all great. I hope everyone here has several resources that they can really depend on. They feel they can depend on in life, but you do have a dependency on them. And when things happen to those things or people, it affects you very deeply, right? So we're talking about building a shock absorption capability when unpredictable things come your way. When situations you're not ready for comes your way. It can be something as simple as, say you work or you study?
I'll do both. Okay.
So say there is a big submission due in university, it's your final exam or whatever. You've been preparing, for weeks on that topic or whatever, and your laptop crashes the night before the submission, and your backup crashes, and you don't have it anymore. How's that going to make you feel?
Fairly frustrated.
Yeah, and make you suffer, right? So it's kind of one of these shocks, that unpredictable shocks that life can deliver to you. So also gave the example of death. So when these things come your way, your capacity to absorb the shock and move on is what the third benefit is about. So one teacher in the lineage kind of says Vedanta takes you from what to so what. fairly quickly. So we all go from this what to so what at some point or the other, right? So when a shock comes your way, it might take you 5 minutes, may take you 5 hours, or may take you years, how long it takes you to absorb this shock is what it is about.
So that sounds like deep kind of acceptance.
Yeah, you can call it the acceptance which would come, or your ability to absorb the shock and move on. So that's what the third benefit is about.
Thank you.
Isn't it somewhere, or does it talk about how it is linked then to us being able to do what we need to do in that moment? Hopefully, it'll help us realize.
Yeah, so we will talk about a related benefit in the next class. So I didn't get to finish the 5th benefit. So I don't like to get into the text, the actual teaching after 9 o'clock, because some people might want to leave, and that's perfectly fine. You can leave, whoever needs to leave after 9 are welcome to. So I'll explain that. So there is this 4th benefit we're talking about is how these situations which come to you affect you. And we will talk about the 5th benefit about your reactions also. And always, you can all feel free to post your questions in the WhatsApp group later. And if anyone else wants to answer those questions, you're very welcome to do that as well. I myself will look at everything and answer it as well there. We can use that WhatsApp group for keeping that discussion alive as well. Okay. So now I will say the final prayers. I will take you to the meaning of all these prayers as well later on. But for now, just say it. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you. Have a beautiful week, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.